Welcome to episode 31 of Excel Beyond Boundaries with Kailey Jeannette, who's a U.S. Navy veteran and a health advocate with a very inspirational story. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Kailey. So, taking it way back, where did it all begin for you? Are you from Florida?
I'm actually originally born and raised in Tampa, which is sort of one of the rare ones in our area. I feel like everyone's a transplant.
Yes, not too many people who are born and raised, for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. So then you went into the Navy, and how long were you in the Navy for?
So I did 4.5 years. I actually ended up enlisting when I was 17. I had to get my parents to sign a waiver so that I could enlist. And yeah.
That's exciting. And how did you know you wanted to? I'm curious, how did you end up choosing the Navy?
I absolutely love being near water and by water. Of course, Florida girl. So I just thought to myself, okay, Army, don't want to sleep on the ground. Marines, same similar thing. Air Force, I thought would be a little bit too easy. So I decided, hey, let's try the Navy. Let's go on a ship.
That's awesome. And I've heard great things about serving in the military. I have so many friends who are veterans. And would you say that was a great experience for you?
I would say if I could do it all over again, I 100% would because I think
Wow.
it laid the foundation of who I am as a person. And I learned so much during that time and chapter of my life. I mean, I was 18 years old doing things that most people in their 30s have never done in their entire life. So if you just kind of take a step back and look at it that way, it's kind of shocking just to think that a lot of people that are serving in our military are anywhere from 18 to like 21 years old.
That is crazy. And I completely agree from what I've heard from others. It seems like such a great chapter to, learn skills, learn more about yourself, build that foundation. And everyone that I've met that has served is so much more mature, for their age. It's definitely a special thing for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
What would you say, kind of jumping right in, some deep questions. What would you say is the most powerful experience along your journey that reshaped your belief in what you could achieve?
Ooh, I wouldn't say it's one event or thing that happened. I would more so accredit it to my father because growing up my entire life, he always told me you can do anything that you put your mind to. And as long as you focus and put your mind on something, you can and will achieve it. And that's just what I always heard growing up. So I have that instilled in my head like, okay, anything that I put my mind to, I'm going to achieve. And I've proved that to myself over and over again.
Very nice. Wow. So you developed that mindset beginning with your father, the wisdom he shared and what he taught you.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Very good. So then, what would you say? You seem very disciplined and very focused and mature. What would you say is your fundamental why that drives you, through hard times, that keeps you going day after day,
I
like
love
that
this question.
that driving force?
I would say my driving force is to serve others, honestly. I think that everything that you go through in life is for a purpose and a reason. And purpose in itself is to serve others. So I believe that the things that you go through, you share, you talk to about people, friends on a podcast, and that's how people learn and grow, right? Through communication, through community and such.
That's amazing. I like that answer. And isn't it crazy how looking back, the dots kind of connect, and it's like, oh yeah, that's why I experienced that.
Oh, absolutely. It's always fun to retrospect, look back and be like, oh, that's why that had to happen.
Oh yeah, no, it's so crazy to like you can't explain why something's happened to you, why whatever circumstance you're encountering, why you're dealing with that. But then looking back, it's like wow, like I wouldn't change that if I could, because it made me who I am.
Yep, 1000%.
It's amazing. Fun question: if your journey so far was turned into a movie, what would the title be?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question. I have to think about that one for a second.
Yeah, we can come back if you need more time.
Yeah, let's come back to that one.
All right, come back to that one. Getting into some questions about mindset. Kind of going back to what you said about from your father. If you can go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, like let's say 15 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
I would just tell myself to don't listen to what other people say, their opinions. Don't care about how other people view you. Be yourself truly and authentically, because at the end of the day, that's all that truly matters.
That's good advice. That is very good advice. When did your random kind of ties in? When did you first get into self-development and self-discovery? Because in order to be true to yourself, I feel like we have to sort of dig deep first and kind of find out who we truly are. And a lot of people never reach that level of self-awareness. When did you first begin getting into that?
I would say it happened probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I went through a really bad depression phase. And I feel like it kind of, when I hit that rock bottom, it kind of triggered something in me. And it said, like, okay, I can't stay here. I can't sit here. I need to like crawl myself out. And that's kind of when I started introspection, asking myself the why, which ironically, my dad also taught me to always question things. Don't just accept it at face value. Ask the whys. And for a really long time, I did not understand it. It like low key bothered me that he asked me so many questions. But then I realized I'm like, wow, that was the most powerful advice to get. And I didn't get it until just then. And that's what put me down this path of wanting to know more and to ask these questions to myself, to connect better to myself, to understand who I am on a deeper level.
That makes sense. And isn't it funny how, as teenagers or young adults, the advice that our parents tell us, we're like we don't need that. Like what? And then years later, when we, become a little wiser, it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, he sounds very wise for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific morning routines or anything, that you do mindset wise, like journaling or meditating?
I would say I do wake up and the first thing I do is thank God for waking me up another day. I ask for a great day, whatever that brings. Then I will go to a workout. I will pray in the car as I'm driving and I will journal. But I actually use my phone to journal. I'm not like I hate writing sometimes because I feel like my thoughts are faster than what I can write. So I actually like do journaling talking by talking.
Oh, like audio notes.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. So then you just reflect back on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's kind of cool and a little weird, but I'm like listening to myself and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting.
That is cool. I've never heard of that, but it sounds, useful. Easier while you're driving
Hmm.
and I know that when you're doing an activity, sometimes it's easier to um think outside the box or kind of think retrospectively. And
Absolutely.
definitely, that's
Voice
cool.
notes is my best friend.
That's awesome. I'll have to try that. What would you say? Like, did you ever experience a time where you? I know you said you experienced depression, and you had to pull yourself out of that. So, um, what would you say your advice is for those struggling with self-doubt or lack of motivation?
I would say to make sure that you have people who truly support you, to not believe the thoughts that are put in your head because 99% of the time they are untrue and they are coming from the enemy. That's what I truly believe. You have to understand that what you are feeling is temporary and to not shelter yourself into isolation because that's not going to help you. The best thing to do is to talk to a trusted friend or family member that is truly going to be there for you and can support you and hold that space for you.
That is great advice. Very true. I like that. What three words? This is kind of a fun question, but playing off your mindset. How would you describe your mindset in 3 words?
I would say deep, intentional, and direct.
Deep, intentional, and direct. Okay, so deep as in thinking deeply, like retrospectively, self-reflection, um, and then direct. I know I skipped one, but direct, being straightforward. Just cutting through the bullshit, basically. Um, and then the second one, was
Intentional.
intentional. Yes, that's a powerful one. I completely blanked out. Long day. Sorry about that. Intentional. So then, doing everything with intention. So not wasting time. Everything is intentional. I like that. Those are powerful words.
Yeah, thank you. That's truly what
Yeah.
I believe. And I do want to say that when it comes to intentional, it's all about being smarter and not, working harder or making it harder on yourself.
Definitely. No, I like that. And they all kind of pair together as well. They really do complement each other, those three. If you could put up a billboard with one mindset message for the world, what would it be? And this could be anything. This could be, a special message, something of inspiration, a love.
I would just say one thing that I've always realized and known about myself is that my intuition and my gut is really, really strong. And I know that in the past that I have questioned that, and every single time I have, it's led me astray. So I would say trust your gut, trust your intuition, trust yourself overall.
Oh yeah, I like that. I think a lot of people discredit that, like you were saying in the past. We think, that can't be, or you try to think more rationally. But oh, actually, that reminds me, there's a book, Into the Magic Shop by James R. Doty. This is his other book called Mind Magic. It doesn't have anything to do with magic, but it's about how he was a neurosurgeon, about how the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain does to the heart. So, how your heart guides you, basically.
I
Like,
believe it.
oh, it's an amazing book. But I love what you said. That's amazing. Getting into the fitness, wellness section, sustainable health. What is your biggest gym pet peeve? Fun question to start.
My biggest gym pet peeve would be when someone tries to come over and walk over to a machine, especially a male, trying to come over and take it over as if like I'm not standing there using it, or if I walk over to do something else really quick, or I walk away and then they like come immediately and try to
Really?
take it. Yeah.
Wow. So the second you walk away, someone just kind of like scoops
Yeah,
in.
it's
Wow.
happened before.
That's crazy. Like normally etiquette is, you look around, you see if there's anyone in the area, you give it like 30 seconds. That's funny. Wow. The what's your go-to song or playlist that you listen to get motivated?
Ooh, that's a great question. To be honest with you, I love listening to podcasts. I do love music. I love dancing. So I don't really have a specific like playlist or anything like that, but I love listening to podcasts. If I did have to mention music, stuff like that, I would say it's probably like old school songs from early 2000s.
Okay. Early 2000s, old school.
Yeah.
That's funny. Now that's old school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's funny. But what podcast though? If you listen to podcasts, what podcasts?
Self-development and growth ones.
Okay.
I absolutely love Jay Shetty.
Jay
And
Shetty.
there are so many others that I could mention. I love Mel Robbins. The podcasts that actually make you think, that make you understand who you are, that make you question certain things about yourself so that you can learn yourself more.
I see. I like that. Yeah, that's good to always be learning. And when is a better time? For sure. And also, would you agree that some music it doesn't really have the best frequency for energy? Like a lot of like rap.
Absolutely. I would say music is absolutely energy, right? It comes from the artist. For example, sad songs. Those artists were going through either a tough time, they were in their emotions. That energy is pulled through the music. So when you listen to sad songs, you're most likely feeling what they felt when they were creating that. Same thing with other music. You kind of have to pay attention to that. And I think that's very important for a lot of people.
Definitely. No, that's good advice. Um, what is something that you faced, some challenges you faced when you first got into the fitness industry with your own health journey?
I would just say at first, it was a little bit difficult to have a consistent schedule of getting in there. But it's more about discipline. It's showing up on the days where you don't want to, where you want to stay in bed, you want to hit the snooze, you want to say, oh, I'll just go tomorrow. But then you prove to yourself that you go, and that's the discipline that you prove to yourself, hey, I love myself because I'm going, I'm doing what I said I was going to do, I'm being intentional.
I like that. No, it's so true, and it changes every aspect of your life, right?
Absolutely.
I have one more question for now, and then I wanted to ask you a little bit about something you mentioned earlier. Um, how has fitness, kind of playing off what we just talked about, how has fitness impacted other areas of your life aside from just, physical?
Yeah, I would say it definitely has helped me on a mental level. I think that sometimes in life, when you get different stressors, for me, it's helped to exert that energy that I have inside me, whether it be anger, frustration, or even excitement, and just going in and lifting or doing whatever, even a walk, whatever activity I want to do, and just exerting that energy so that you kind of come down to a level that is a little bit more stable and steady for you.
Nice. No, that's very true. It's I read somewhere that it was more powerful than an antidepressant exercise.
I agree with that. I
It's
think
crazy.
that depending on the type of person and your personality that you have, it can help you in different ways.
It's amazing. I wanted to ask you earlier. I know you mentioned about how a lot of people don't realize with the autoimmune that there's symptoms out there, and a lot of people don't realize that they might have an autoimmune disease or something going on. What is your experience with that?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with two autoimmune diseases. I have rheumatoid arthritis and Hashimoto's. And basically, what happened is I woke up one day and my arm and my shoulder was really, really stiff. It was the joints, and it was so bad that I would try to put a sports bra on or even a bra and clasp it. And just doing this movement, I would be in literal tears.
Oh.
And at first, I was like, wow, like, okay, maybe I injured myself in the gym. Let's take a few months off and just kind of see how that goes, rest, recover, reset. A few months went by. I was still feeling the pain on a daily basis. I have the type of personality where I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna be tough about this. I'm just gonna like see what
Push
happens.
through it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna push through. But after 3, 4 months, I was like, okay, this is unbearable, and I can't continue to do this. Like there might be something a little bit more wrong. But on top of that, I also noticed not only in that 3 or 4 months that I was waiting to see if it would get better, I started losing hair. I was gaining weight, which I normally wouldn't have because I was doing the same routines and stuff. So it was kind of odd. I was getting very fatigued, like very tired throughout the day. And I just was super confused. Like I would have brain fog often. So all things that I'm like, okay, this is weird and this is not normal. So I ended up going to a conventional doctor and they ran some tests and it came back all normal on my blood work. I said, okay, well that can't be correct because I'm having all these symptoms. I don't know what's going on. They decided to rerun more tests, and then this time there was a few different elevated levels. So they said, okay, we're gonna refer you to a rheumatologist. I said, okay, what does that mean? Why am I going to a rheumatologist? Well, it might be an autoimmune, but we're not sure, so we're gonna send you to the specialist so that they can kind of go from there and help you with it. I said, okay. So I set that up and I went to the appointment. They ran more tests. I had x-rays done on my joints because at this point it was more than just my shoulder and my arm. It was in my sciatica, my
Oh,
ankle, my fingers. So I
wow.
had all of those x-rayed and they had a lot of inflammation in those areas. And then the blood work did show that I was positive and I had all the symptoms for rheumatoid arthritis. So from there, the doctor said, okay, you have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm going to give you this pill. You need to take it twice a day, every day, basically. And you might have to take this the rest of your life. I personally, I do not want to be on medication for the rest of my life.
Oh, really?
So that was a lot to process at the time. And she said, come back in 2 months and we'll see how you feel. So I took the medication because I wanted to feel some sort of relief after it's been at this point 6 months of pain.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah. So I started taking the medication, and within like 3 weeks, the pain was completely gone. And I started researching the pill that I was taking.
Uh-oh.
And what I found about the pill is that if I were to have taken that pill for a year, I would be susceptible to liver failure.
Whoa, that's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
What?
And at 30 something years old, I don't think liver failure is on my bingo card because
No,
I'm so young.
that's
And
crazy.
to go back into the fitness thing, I started my fitness journey when I was in the military. So I had already been working out for 10 plus years. It didn't make sense. I had clean eating. I don't eat fast food. I don't drink soda. I don't eat fried
Oh,
foods for the most part. So it was very interesting. So that next appointment I went to, I basically, challenged the doctor and I asked her, I said, hey, is there not some other way besides taking this medication? And she straight up told me, no, that's the only option. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to figure something else out.
that's crazy. They love telling you that's the only option.
Well, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to doctors, especially conventional doctors, they only know what they're given and what they're shown. So
That's
for the
true.
most part, you can't fault them. But there are some who want to question what they see and they want to dig in and research more. But those are
Good.
more rare in that world.
It's a good thing you refuse to accept no as an answer. Like it seems like you repetitively did not accept that. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious to hear how this unfolds.
Yeah. So I ended up I'm on the medication still. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm praying daily, like, please
Good.
give me a sign. Please help me. Like, please try to figure this out. And I went to one of my workout classes, and one of the girls I heard told the trainer, hey, so I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I can't do this certain movement. And I go, oh my gosh, somebody else has it. Let me talk to her after class because I don't know anybody that has it. So I ended up talking to her, and she told me that she hired a holistic doctor that's local in Tampa, and he helped her and was currently helping her basically recover, is what she said. And I said, so recover as in like not have to deal with any of these symptoms without taking medication? She said, yes.
Wow.
I said, okay. And I after that I literally cried because I'm like, this was a sign that I was waiting for, and I knew that I didn't have to take medication for the rest of my life. Like other
Yes.
ways of healing is possible, and I just needed that small sign from somebody to confirm that, and that's exactly what happened.
The turning point.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
see. I definitely want to hear about that. I wanted to ask though, what were the symptoms that you experienced? You said it started in your shoulder and then other joints. So what, like, was it like a dull pain or like a sharp pain?
No, it was a sharp pain. It was like, for example, like just lifting, like I couldn't even lift my arms. Like I would
Oh,
lift my left arm and I could get it high, but then this one it would only go up to this to like this. And
wow.
that's not normal. It was just so extremely stiff. And then, like I had mentioned, I also had hair loss, I had weight gain, I had fatigue on a daily basis. And then I also noticed that I started having like mood swings, and like I would be super irritable, like I would be like angry over the smallest things, and I'm like, okay, whoa, like this is touching on too much right now, and it's not who I am. So something's off.
Being so self-aware, you knew that it wasn't yourself.
Yeah.
That's good. So then you met her and you saw that there was a way out. And what was the first step with the holistic doctor?
So she gave me his contact information. I went to my appointment. I told him basically everything that happened, and he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. He laid out a program. He said, this is what we would do. This is what I can do for you. And he told me, he said, I will have you walking out of this at the end of our program without any medication, and you will feel completely back to normal. But it depends on you. Like, you have to do the work. I'm going to be here to help you and guide you through it, but you have to be the person that does the work. And he told me transparently, he said, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be extremely difficult. It takes a lot of discipline and it takes a lot of motivation to be able to do these things and stay on this path because it's basically going from one routine of living your life to an uncomfortable of switching it entirely and implementing new processes into the way that you live your life so that you can go down that path to heal.
Interesting. I have so many questions. That's
Feel
uh
free.
that's intense. So then what were the steps with the new path, the 180 that you had to do?
Yeah, so the first step was obviously, I had those tests done by the conventional, but he wanted to have his own test done.
Okay.
So I got blood work tests. I did urine tests for hormones. I did stool tests for leaky gut, which leaky gut, a lot of people in society probably have because it basically comes from stress, overuse of like ibuprofens, NSAIDs, stuff like that, poor diet, antibiotics, alcohol, gluten, processed foods, high sugars. So all of that contributes to this leaky gut. And the leaky gut is where the lining of your small intestines, it basically becomes damaged. And then all of the undigested food particles, toxin, bacteria, it goes into through the gut, your gut wall, into your bloodstream.
Sounds terrible to have
Right,
leaky gut.
right. So that was something that we tested for, and 9 out of 10 cases, if you have leaky gut, there's a high possibility that you also have some sort of autoimmune disease, or if you do not have it yet, you are more susceptible to developing it.
I see. That makes sense.
Right.
And I'm sure many more people have symptoms of that due to everything you said. I mean, that's pretty much what everybody eats.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
it's crazy. And then I learned, I learned so much from it as well, that your the lining regenerates every 2 weeks. So that was part of the process that he was talking about. Like you have to take these supplements and you have to go down and change your diet. So he made me go on a AIP, which is an autoimmune protocol diet where you eliminate a lot of different foods. So I was basically just eating a small amount of set foods because we took an extended food allergen panel. It was like 170 different types of foods that are common, and it showed me the types of foods that I was allergic to. And when I say allergic, I mean it causes inflammation in my body. So
Uh,
anytime I digested or drank something that was on that list, that's what was causing me the inflammation.
wow. And were these oftentimes foods that you liked or that you had often?
Oh, it was really interesting because I still and I avoid these foods to this day just because I don't want to chance anything, but the biggest one and the most common one that affects every single person regardless if you have autoimmune or not is gluten.
Wow.
And there are so
Gluten.
many different types of gluten out there. It's not just wheat. There are so many different like types of it. And it's in almost all of our foods.
Gluten. Even if you're not gluten intolerant.
Correct.
Wow.
It still affects everybody in one way, shape, or form.
That's intense. What so then you had to cut out gluten, you had to cut out what else did you have to cut out?
So I had to cut out scallops, any sort of yeast. I used to love drinking wine, and I would drink a glass of wine and I would immediately have to throw up. So anything that's fermented for me, so that includes any sort of wine, champagnes, anything pickled, stuff like that. Um, chocolate, egg yolk.
But not egg whites though.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Interesting.
Um, mushrooms, cherries, and cow's milk.
Interesting, but not goat's milk.
Correct, not goat's milk. See, you're like getting the things that I
Uh,
can still enjoy, you know?
interesting. And I'm assuming no tomatoes.
No tomatoes.
So no like nightshade, like no garlic or onion?
No, I could do garlic and onion. Those were fine.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. But you had to immediately change your entire diet, basically.
Correct.
Wow. And then lifestyle. They promote you to, exercise
Well, I
and be
told him
active?
about, I did tell him about my lifestyle. He asked all these questions that I feel conventional doctors also don't ask about, right? Which is your lifestyle. What stress do you have in your life? What do you do for work? Does it cause you a lot of stress? Are you in a relationship? Does that cause you a lot of stress? How are your friendships? Do they support you? How is your family? How is that dynamic, right? Because at the end of the day, like all of those things, all of that information greatly impacts how you live on a day-to-day basis. And unless you fully understand how those dynamics are, then you won't understand how that affects your stress levels. Because that is the biggest thing, especially in today's society. Everybody is hustle, we have a million things to do. It's almost uncomfortable for you to just like rest and relax. And that's not healthy for us.
That hustle culture.
Right.
That's so true. It's crazy how America has gotten to such a hustle culture, and other cultures are not like that. Like if you
Right.
go, my dad's from Greece, and in the Mediterranean in Greece, they have like siesta in the middle of the day, like Spain. It's not called siesta, but they take naps in the middle of the day, or it's just a slow pace of life. And here it's like just go, go, go,
Mhm.
and then high caffeine, which affects your digestion, and then it's like everything comes together, like holistically, like you were saying
Right. Exactly.
the isolation, how we all live in cookie cutter, homes and don't have the social activity like other cultures. And I love how you said you shared more insights to the holistic side of all of that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, you have social media, right? Like your friends, maybe, or even just people in general. They're like, oh, I want to, connect with somebody. Let me just go look at what they're posting or look at their stories. That's not true connection. That's not helping you on a health level. Like true connection is being with that person, in person, spending time with them, asking them how they are, not just checking up on their social media.
That's true. It is really scary to see the direction that things have gone, but I feel like a lot of people, not maybe the majority, but like yourself, recognize that and are bringing awareness to it. So that's a good start
Yeah.
for sure. So then, when you did the 180, you changed your diet, you changed your, well, kept being active, but changed certain things about your lifestyle. The symptoms all went away entirely.
So it was a slow process. This whole program lasted about a year and some change, about a year and 3 months. And once I followed everything to the T, I did see slow progression in different things. My fatigue went away. My joint pain went away.
Amazing.
I only, thankfully, only took that medication for about 8 months, and then I stopped it completely. And then that's when I stopped feeling the joint pains and stuff like that. And all those other symptoms that I mentioned that I had, they slowly started fading away, and I started feeling better and more like myself again.
Good, good. No, that's amazing that you dove deeper to see what the medicine had. Because imagine if you never looked and you were still taking it to this day. But
Right. I didn't want to have a liver transplant or be in the hospital for something that was a bigger, issue from taking a medication.
oh yeah, that is insane. No, that's very inspiring that you took initiative, didn't accept no, and didn't accept no again, multiple times, and kept diving deeper. And then the second you got a green light from someone who had experience with it, you pursued the knowledge. And then on top of that, made all the changes because that's another thing. People don't like to make changes. People like living in their comfort zones or little bubbles. And you completely did a 180 with your lifestyle and you stuck to it. And then you had the ultimate reward of not having the symptoms anymore.
Yeah. To me, I think I framed it as more like a challenge of myself. Like, okay, this might be uncomfortable temporarily, but I was just thinking of the future. Like, how amazing is it going to feel for me not to have any of these symptoms, not to be on this medication, and to be walking and feeling my best again after something happened. I've been diagnosed with these diseases or that I will have the rest of my life, which is fine, but now I understand fully and have control over my body. And I think that's the most important thing is that when someone takes medication, you don't have control over your body. Those medications, those pills, whatever it is, they are suppressing. They are not healing.
The Band-Aid.
Exactly.
That is so true. And to put it in perspective, so many people will do, challenges like 75 hard or, but you did like the ultimate challenge because it was more involved and it was for a longer period of time. So, no, that's amazing. And it's good to have people put that in perspective, what it took and what you accomplished. So now you have good, like perfect health now.
Yeah. I wouldn't say perfect, but I would definitely say that I know exactly if I feel something off, I know exactly what I can do to kind of make myself feel better just through trial and error that I've been through. And every day is a new day, right? I definitely feel more like myself more days than most.
Good.
But just like anything else, I have my off days, and when that happens, I just give myself grace and keep it moving.
Good. No, that's a good mentality. Would you say that everyone should do the dietary test, to see what they're allergic to and get more insight to their health?
I absolutely think that it would be beneficial for everybody to do that. Number one, because now you know exactly, what is causing inflammation. And a lot of people are walking around with bloat issues, right? I know a lot of women have mentioned to me or say, they're always like, oh, I feel so bloated.
Oh, yeah.
I always feel this way. And it's like, don't just be so quick to blame it on your menstrual cycle, right? Because I know it's a common thing and I understand it, and I've been there and I get bloating myself, but at the same time, like, you should just question it. Well, let me start paying attention. How often do I feel bloated? And then see, talk to your doctor, ask for tests, push for it. And if they tell you, "Oh, I don't know, everything looks fine," advocate for yourself. Say, it may look fine on these tests, but I still feel the way that I feel. Don't let them gaslight you. Stand up for yourself.
That is great advice, seriously, because the industry, not to say it in a bad way, but you're right. It comes from a different mentality and it can take people down a path that might not be best for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That was very well said. Wow. I actually really want to do that for myself because it's yeah, if you're right, we shouldn't accept symptoms that, if you're bloated sometime after eating something, that's your body telling you that it doesn't want it. And good message for women to pay attention to their menstrual cycle. I like that because I would not blame it on their menstrual cycle because the bloating isn't always correlated to that. That is
Yeah.
so true. No, I
I do
like
want to
that.
also mention what's really important for women too is to get their hormones checked. Ladies, please get your hormones checked because I don't know how many of my friends or just people in general that I have just asked out of curiosity, have you ever had your hormones tested? And they tell me no. And they've been on birth control for years or they're just getting off of it and you don't check your hormone levels. And the biggest thing for all diseases, cancers, stuff like that, is having a high estrogen dominance. And that is what I had. That is why I it triggered it within my body along with stress is the high estrogen. And I had no clue. I had no idea.
Interesting. Wow. Was there anything that, specifically caused that, did they say, or was it just happened to be high estrogen?
So he told me, and I asked that same question, he said, we will never know for sure. But I
Okay.
definitely do have a thought of it being related to the birth control that I was on because I was on birth control for about 6 years. I was on Depo-Provera and I came off of it in 2019 and I had the worst adverse symptoms after I got off of it because my body was basically in like a withdrawal from it.
Wow.
And then fast forward a couple years later, I get diagnosed. And the craziest part and slightly embarrassing is I noticed between 2019 and up until I was diagnosed, I didn't have a body odor, which I thought was very interesting. And so when I got those results back from my hormones, it said, okay, your estrogen is very high and your testosterone is very low. And it kind of just dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute,
Interesting.
interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't had a
Wow.
body odor. He goes, yeah, because your testosterone has been like non-existent probably for years.
Wow. So testosterone is what would cause the body
Yeah.
odor in a sense.
Yep.
Wow. Interesting. Huh. You speaking about all of that reminds me, my wife experienced something similar where um, after birth control, getting off birth control and all of that. And then in addition to that, getting into bikini competitions and, the low body fat and then not sleeping much and all of that. And so, hearing what she had to share about that, it really is important to get hormones checked for sure.
Yeah.
Especially going through hustle culture, just grinding it out, sleepless nights, all of that affects everyone hormonally.
Yeah, especially if, I mean, women, it's like scientifically proven that we need more sleep than men. It's just how it is. And if you're not prioritizing rest and sleep, you're going to be affected. Your body keeps the score.
Body keeps the score. I like that. So many quotables in this episode.
It's actually a really great book too. It's called The Body Keeps Score, and it's a good read, and it basically goes into details of how your body will start to show symptoms, and if you ignore them, and you brush them off as, just like we had mentioned already, oh, it could be my menstrual cycle, or oh, it's just because I'm getting older. Those are just things that society tells you to gaslight yourself basically, instead of questioning it, like, wait, I'm not going to believe that. Like, I'm going to challenge these thoughts and these societal norms and try to figure out like what's going on with me.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. That's wow. Thank you for all of that. Really. So many great messages. Getting into the last section, I wanted to ask first though. You made so many powerful points. What would you like to share with men and women, or more specifically women, about everything you spoke about? Any like final notes on that you want them to know?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to support women and just say that women should listen to their bodies. Don't listen to society. You need to very much prioritize rest and managing your stress in healthy ways and getting these tests ran so that you can understand your body, because we are absolutely different than men. And it's so important to you to have a longevity of your life and to have a healthy body. And I think that the way that some women were raised when we were growing up, I know this is personally me, I was raised to be the nice girl, to sit there and look pretty, right? And I think that when I was younger, it taught me, oh, don't speak up, don't say anything, right? And so maybe some women have carried that throughout their lives and they don't speak up when something's wrong. Instead, we push it down, we ignore it because we have things that we have to do.
I see. So, not to suppress yourself, not to like dim your light, to do what's best for you, and really look within and follow your heart. Just do what you need to do for yourself.
Right. And speak up and advocate for yourself, especially when it comes to your health, amongst everything else.
That's no great advice, really. A lot of great advice. So what is next for you? You seem very passionate about sharing, wellness and helping women get on track. What's next for you in career or fitness or mindset wise?
Yeah, I think what's next for me, excuse me, I know what's next for me is I am following my purpose. I am currently orchestrating a way to help more people, make more of an impact in people's lives, whether it be one person who sees this podcast episodes who is motivated or inspired to go to the doctor and get their test ran. Like, I want to be that person to just make that impact regardless how big it is. And I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I definitely have some things working that go with all of that hand in hand.
I love it. No, that's exciting. And let me know whenever you finish what you're working on to share in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kailey. I appreciate it. And any final words you want to say?
I would just say thank you so much for having me on this episode. I truly appreciate it. My biggest thing is just wanting to express and make people aware, specifically women, about autoimmune, because I strongly feel it is not talked about enough. And I think that there are so many cases that are coming up lately just because of our foods and the stresses that we have in our daily lives. Not to say that men aren't being affected, because I personally know men that are going through this autoimmune journey as well. But I just think that it is so important to speak out and to make people aware and understand that it is possible to heal and it is possible to not be on medication for the rest of your life. And I just wish that for everybody.
No, I completely agree. And so many people are going to get so much value from this. So thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. That concludes episode 31.